Well, all right. Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios. And it's time for another track versus track. I'm doing another track versus track this week because I got a special request. I got a special request from a good friend, longtime friend, Nathan Alfaro. Shout out to Nathan Alfaro. And Nathan is, he's the guy who provided all the candy. Remember when Tommy was eating tons and tons of candy? Anybody who watches this channel regularly, when we were doing our singles of the year and long into our albums of the year, Tommy eating candy by the tons. Nathan is the one who sent all that candy. So Nathan is the candy man, okay? And, anyway, he just a couple days ago sent me a text saying, hey, just a thought. Would you mind doing, as a track versus track, Chicago 5 versus Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill? Yeah. My Can't Buy a Thrill is not here. It's in the world famous As It Should Be archives, okay? Hence the pop-up. But yeah, and I said, yeah, you know what? They had the same number of tracks. They're both 1972 albums. Like, he really thought this out. And it's a pairing I would never have come up with on my own, and I think it's a great one. Here we go. Now I am doing it the way I have been doing it, the new way, where I have ranked the songs on each of the albums, and I am pitting them against one another in that order. Okay, so let me get the tally sheet going. Chicago versus Steely Dan. Okay. Now, for the uninitiated, really quick, what is this track versus track thing? I rank albums on rank the tracks on two individual albums, and then, like I just said, I pit the songs against one another in that order. I go from 10 up to number 1, and it's just a really quick, like, read the two songs, and I have to decide, kind of on the spur of the moment, okay, which one do I prefer? And that's really it. I'm not doing a review. I'm not, going on into any history of the, well, I mean, I might, depending on what comes up at the top of my head, but I'm just kind of like, it's just kind of a quick and dirty, kind of dumb fun kind of video where I just choose songs as they come up. For those of you who don't know. All right, so let's get started. You guys are going, yes, we know. Can you start? Yes, I will start. All right, so, the track that came in at number 10 on the Chicago album is Alma Mater. Yeah, that is... Now, Robert Lamb wrote every song on this album except for 2. And the last track on the album is Alma Mater, so it would have come in at number 10 even if I'd done the tracks in order. This is a Terry Kath song, written and sung. And, it's a good song. There isn't a bad song on the Chicago 5 album as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's definitely one of my very favorites of theirs. But I would say definitely Alma Mater is my least favorite. But that doesn't mean I don't really like the song. Okay, so it goes against the track that came in at number 10 on Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill, which is Brooklyn Owes the Charmer Under Me. And, well, see, now, this album, there was a time where this album wasn't one of my favorites of Steely Dan. I had a real problem with the fact that there are songs that Donald Fagen didn't sing. Because for me, Donald Fagen's lyrics really can only be conveyed by Donald Fagen. Really, anybody else trying to sing that stuff, it just does not come across for me. But you know what? I've come around. I'm really not bothered by the songs on this album that were written or that were sung by other people. And David Palmer sang a couple of tracks, one of which is this. So this is a David Palmer sung track, and I have it last on the list, not because of David Palmer. I mean, really, I just think it's the weakest song, but there are no weak songs on this album. Okay, so this is the weakest song amongst an album of strong songs. So, that's the way I look at it. So yeah, I mean, I really love this song, Brooklyn Owes the Charmer Under Me, but it's just my least favorite on the album. So, my favorite of the two, Alma Mater versus Brooklyn Owes the Charmer Under Me. I'm gonna go Steely Dan. I'm going Steely Dan. Yeah, definitely. First point to Steely Dan. Yeah, I guess really what that means is that Alma Mater is my least favorite song out of all the songs on both of these albums put together. Sorry, Terry. Sorry, Terry Kath. Okay, so coming in at number 9 on the Chicago album is Dialogue Part 1. Okay, so now I have to qualify this. On the album, there's Dialogue Part 1 and Dialogue Part 2. And they are listed and they're separated on the CD also as 2 separate tracks. But really, if you listen to it, it's all one song. Now, in order for these to line up, in order for there to be 10 tracks against 10 tracks, I had to count parts 1 and 2 as separate tracks. So I have at number 9, Dialogue Part 1. Okay. And that goes up against the track that came in at number 9 on the Steely Dan album, which is Change of the Guard. Yeah, it's like a really great Christine McVie kind of vibe to that song, like the keyboards. Yeah, I really, really like this song. Dialogue, definitely not one of my favorite songs on Chicago 5. Like the song, but you know what? Change of the Guard destroys it. Destroys it. Steely Dan gets another one. Okay. So coming in number 8 on the Chicago album, State of the Union. Oh man, I love this song. Great, great song. And it goes up against the track that came in at number 8 on Steely Dan, which is Kings. Yes, I really like both these tracks. The first two were kind of easy to decide, but this one's not as easy. But you know what? I think I'm going to go with Kings. So, another one for Steely Dan. Steely Dan's wiping the floor so far. You know what? And I love both these bands. I love 70 Chicago. Love Steely Dan. I love all Steely Dan. But, I don't know. So far, Chicago isn't holding the candle, are they? All right. Okay. It's coming in number 7 on the Chicago album. Dialogue Part 2. Yes. The second half of that song, which is really kind of the big chorus ending, I like that. Not only do I like that more than the first part of Dialogue, but I like it even more than State of the Union. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I realized when I was ranking, I thought, no, you know what? Because I had Dialogue 1 and 2 kind of back to back, and I was like, no, you know what? I like Dialogue Part 2 more than State of the Union. That goes up against the track that came in at number 7 on the Steely Dan album, Fire in the Hole, which is the second song on side 2. Yeah, and But you know what? Yeah, that's pretty easy. I may have put Dialogue Part 2 absurdly high in this list, but Fire in the Hole, by far. Ooh, Steely Dan 4. Chicago Zip. All right. Okay. Coming in number 6 on the Chicago album, Now That You've Gone. Now That You've Gone. One of the only 2 songs on the album not written by Robert Lamb. This one was written by James Pankow, and that goes up against track number 6 on the Steely Dan album, Turn That Heartbeat Over Again. The final track on the album. The closer, the album closer, or whatever you want to call it. I really, really like the Chicago song, but man, Turn That Heartbeat Over Again? Oh. Absolutely love that track, and it runs away with this. As Steely Dan in general is running away with the track, yeah, I've got 5 to zip now. All you Steely Dan fans are going, yes, of course. Yeah, well, I don't know, but some of you people like both bands. All right, like me. All right, so coming in at number 5 on the Chicago album, While the City Sleeps, which is the opening track on side 2. Man, what a fucking great song that is. And that goes up against track number 5 on Can't Buy a Thrill, which is Dirty Work. Yeah, another one of the Dave Palmer lead vocals. Now, that track, I always had such a difficult time with. Well, because like I said, it used to be that I really couldn't get next to the stuff sung by Dave Palmer, because it's just like, who's this random voice that just does not convey the lyrics? You know, I really like the track now. And you know, it's so weird is that Donald Fagen does not sing that song. And I don't mean, obviously he doesn't sing the song on the album. He does not sing it. They always do it live. He doesn't sing the song. A backing vocalist will sing the song, whoever. He'll bring on guests to sing it, but he does not sing this damn song. I saw them once live, and they brought out Bonnie Raitt, and she sang it. I don't know what Donald's thing is about it, but he will not sing the song. Anyway, but Dirty Work against While the City Sleeps. Oof, that's a rough one. While the city sleeps. Oh, man. See, now the thing about it is that the verse parts, the verse section of Dirty Work, I don't love. I don't love. The chorus, absolutely incredible. The chorus on Dirty Work, amazing. While the City Sleeps, I like all the parts. I'm choosing While the City Sleeps. Yeah. I like that whole song equally. So yeah, Chicago gets one. Yeah, a lot of people going, wait a minute, you chose that deep, who the hell even knows what it is, Chicago song over Dirty Work? Yes, I just did. Okay. Coming in at number 4 on the Chicago album, Goodbye. Oof, man. Oh, man, that is such a good one. I mean, you know, I'm at number 4, so obviously I'm getting to the ones that I really love now. And that goes up against the one that came in number 4 on the Steely Dan album, which is Midnight Cruiser. Oh. Now, Jim Hodder, who was the take 2. Now, Jim Hodder, who was the drummer in the band at the time, sings lead on this. So yeah, there are actually 3 lead vocalists on the first Steely Dan album. But Jim, this is the only song he sings. Midnight Cruiser. And yeah, and I have it at number 4. So yeah, I've definitely gotten over my whole thing about not liking the songs that Donald Fagen doesn't sing. But what do I prefer? But yeah, I have to go with Goodbye. Yeah, Chicago gets that one. Man, okay, all right. So Chicago's actually getting some points now. Okay, so it's not going to be a complete blowout. Okay, so coming in at number 3, what came in at number 3 on the Chicago album is a hit by Varese. Okay, and which is the opening track on the album. Really, really great track, okay? And, you know, a song about Edgar Varese, who was a French composer of the early 20th century. And the track that came in at number 3 on the Steely Dan album is Only a Fool Would Say That. Oh, man. Only a fool would say that. Ooh. Oh, man, that's a rough one. Oh. Ooh, hit by Varese. Only a fool would say that. Okay. Chicago gets it. Yeah. Over Only a Fool Would Say That. I know. That's rough. That's a rough one. Okay. So the song that came in at number 2 on the Chicago album is the song that's actually number 2 on the original track listing, All Is Well. Oh man, I love this one so much. And that goes up against the track that came in at number 2 on the Steely Dan album, Reelin' in the Years. Oh. Oh man. Oh. A lot of people watching this are going, what do you mean, oh man, that's not a contest? Yes, for me, that is a contest. That is a major contest. Any major dude will tell you. Okay, Reelin' in the Years versus All Is Well. Oh man, see, if you don't know the Chicago album, well, you probably won't like the All Is Well as much as I do, but I really fucking love this song. In fact, it wins. Yes. All is well. Over reeling in the years. Yes. Come at me in the comments. Tell me how stupid I am and how wrong I am. Do I care? No. Because in my little world there, all is well. I hesitate to say is better. I choose it over reeling. They're both great. It's kind of a tie, but all is well. Okay, but that brings us to my number one favorite song on Chicago 5. Of course, is going to be Saturday in the Park. And that comes up against my number one favorite track on Campfire Thrill. Hello, Do It Again. And holy fuck. Jesus. Talk about a Sophie's choice. Saturday in the Park against Do It Again? Oh man, this is one of the roughest choices I've ever had to make in a track versus track, because both of these, I mean, because this is really a tie. This is truly like the definition of a tie. But I have to choose one. There are no ties in a track versus track. I have to choose one. And both these songs run equally as deep. I remember both these songs when they were on the radio, when they were current. I was a kid who already loved music and who was already cognizant of what was on the radio and what the hits were, and I loved both of these songs. I've loved them since 1972. Yes. But I know what I'm gonna pick. Oh man, I know what I'm gonna pick. Steely Dan, Do It Again. Man, okay. By that much, okay? But actually, probably by half that much, all right? Okay, so yeah, there you go. So obviously, it's probably pretty obvious that Steely Dan won, but what do we have here? Steely Dan got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Chicago got 4. So Steely Dan won. You know what? When I went to go do this initially, I quickly was saying that I preferred Chicago 5 over the Steely Dan album. Now I'm not so sure, and not because of what what just happened, not because it won in this. It was actually going through the tracks and ranking them that I really started to realize how much I've grown to like the Steely Dan album much more than I used to. So I don't know. In terms of which one I actually prefer, jury's kind of out at the moment. But for this track versus track, Steely Dan pretty much beat the shit out of Chicago. All right, well, everybody, thank you very, very much for watching. Thank you, Nathan, for the suggestion. It was a really good one, and both great albums. And thank you, everybody who has subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. But if you do, click the little bell because of notifications. Shout out to Ralph Vieira of the Almost Human channel. He's the guy who invented the track versus track idea, and he was very cool about me stealing the idea. I salute him. And come back on Thursday, because Tommy Von Voigt and Crystal Durant are going to be back here in the world famous As It Should Be Studios, and we're going to continue our Albums of the Year series. And this week we are going to be discussing our favorite albums of 1994. Yeah, 1994. So let's see how that goes. All right, everybody, thank you, and see you soon.